Welcome to this special reflection on one of the most beautiful and meaningful traditions in our Catholic faith, the use of holy water in our homes. Today, we'll explore how Pope Francis has emphasized the importance of this sacred element in our daily lives and how we can incorporate this blessing into our own homes and families. As we begin this journey together, I invite you to open your heart and mind to the spiritual significance of water, an element that has been central to our faith since its earliest days. Water cleanses, water renews, water brings life, and when blessed by the Church, water becomes a powerful channel of God's grace and protection. Pope Francis, throughout his papacy, has reminded us of the beauty of simple faith practices that connect us to God. The use of holy water is one such practice, humble yet profound in its meaning and impact. The Holy Father often speaks about bringing our faith into our everyday lives, making our homes places where God's presence is felt and celebrated. Holy water is one way we make this connection tangible. Let's start by understanding what holy water truly is. In the Catholic tradition, holy water is ordinary water that has been blessed by a priest or deacon through a specific ritual of the Church. This blessing transforms the water into a sacramental, an object or action that serves as a channel for divine grace. When we use holy water, we're not engaging in superstition or magic. Rather, we're participating in a sacred tradition that dates back to the earliest days of Christianity. The blessing of water has its roots in the very beginning of our faith. We see water as a symbol of purification and new life throughout the Bible. From the waters of creation in Genesis, to the parting of the Red Sea, to the baptism of Jesus in the Jordan River. When Jesus was baptized, the heavens opened, and the Holy Spirit descended upon him. This moment sanctified all waters and gave them the potential to become vehicles of blessing and grace. Pope Francis has often reflected on his own childhood memories of holy water. He recalls how his grandmother would ensure that each family member would bless themselves with holy water before leaving the house or before bedtime. These simple gestures, he says, planted seeds of faith that continued to grow throughout his life. The Holy Father encourages all of us to rediscover these meaningful traditions and bring them into our modern lives. In one of his Wednesday audiences, Pope Francis spoke about the importance of small gestures of faith in the home. He said, "The family that prays together stays together. And a simple way to pray together is to use holy water to bless ourselves and our loved ones." This practice, he explained, reminds us of our baptism, the moment when we first became members of God's family. Each time we use holy water, we renew that baptismal commitment and invite God's protection into our lives. But how can we practically incorporate holy water into our homes? First, you'll need a small container of holy water. Most Catholic churches have holy water fonts near the entrance, and you're welcome to take some home in a small bottle. Some parishes also provide small bottles specifically for this purpose. If you're unable to get to a church, you can ask your parish priest to bless some water for you during his next visit or when you see him. Once you have your holy water at home, consider placing it in a special container, what we call a holy water font. These can be simple or ornate, depending on your preference. The important thing is that it's placed somewhere accessible, perhaps near the entrance of your home or in bedrooms. Some families have multiple fonts throughout their house. Pope Francis suggests several moments when the use of holy water is particularly meaningful. First, upon waking in the morning. Beginning your day with the sign of the cross using holy water sets a spiritual tone for the hours ahead. It's a way of consecrating your day to God and asking for His guidance and protection. Another important moment is when leaving or entering your home. The Holy Father notes that this simple gesture serves as a reminder that we carry our faith with us wherever we go, and that we're welcoming Christ back into our home when we return. It creates a threshold moment, a pause that helps us transition mindfully between the outside world and the sanctuary of our home. Bedtime is another significant opportunity for using holy water. Pope Francis shares how his own parents would bless him with holy water before he went to sleep as a child. This practice, he says, gave him a sense of God's protective presence throughout the night. For children especially, this can be a comforting ritual that helps them feel safe and loved. Holy water can also be used during times of family prayer. Before beginning a family rosary or Bible reading, making the sign of the cross with holy water helps create a sacred space and time. It signals to everyone that this is a special moment set apart for God. During difficult times, holy water can be particularly meaningful. Pope Francis has spoken about how, during storms or when someone in the family is ill, his grandmother would sprinkle holy water around the house. This wasn't superstition, he emphasizes, but an act of faith, a way of physically inviting God's presence and protection into challenging situations. The Holy Father also encourages us to use holy water when blessing our children. Parents have a special role as the first teachers of faith. And blessing your children's foreheads with holy water is a beautiful way to exercise this spiritual responsibility. It can become a treasured family tradition that children carry with them into adulthood and eventually pass on to their own families. But what is the deeper meaning behind these practices? Pope Francis explains that holy water connects us to three fundamental aspects of our faith: our baptism, our need for purification, and our desire for God's protection. First, baptism. Every time we use holy water, we're reminded of our baptismal promises. We recall that we have died with Christ and risen to new life with him. We remember that we belong to God's family and are called to live as children of light. This remembrance helps us stay connected to our Christian identity and purpose. Second, purification. Water cleanses, and holy water symbolizes our desire for spiritual cleansing. Pope Francis reminds us that none of us is perfect. We all fall short and need God's mercy. Using holy water with a contrite heart is a way of expressing our desire to be purified from sin and to begin again with God's grace. Third, protection. The blessing of holy water includes prayers asking for God's protection against evil influences. When we use holy water in our homes, we're creating a spiritual barrier against negative forces and inviting God's angels to watch over our family and dwelling. As Pope Francis says, the home blessed with holy water becomes a little sanctuary, a place where God dwells in a special way. The Holy Father is careful to emphasize that the power of holy water doesn't come from the water itself, but from the faith with which we use it and the blessing of the Church that consecrates it. It's not a magical substance, but a channel of grace that becomes effective through our faith and God's generosity. Pope Francis also connects the use of holy water to the broader call for all Christians to be missionary disciples. He explains that when we bring blessed water into our homes, we're essentially extending the Church's blessing beyond the church building and into the world. Our homes become outposts of faith, places where God's presence is acknowledged and celebrated. This missionary aspect is particularly important in today's secular world. Many people, even those raised Catholic, have lost touch with these beautiful traditions. By maintaining the use of holy water in our homes, we preserve an important aspect of our Catholic heritage and create opportunities to share our faith with others who may visit our homes. The Holy Father has shared stories of how simple practices like using holy water have opened doors for evangelization. He tells of a family who kept a holy water font by their front door. When visitors asked about it, it created natural opportunities to talk about faith and prayer. These conversations sometimes led to deeper spiritual discussions and even invitations to come to Mass. Pope Francis also connects the use of holy water to our care for creation. Water is a precious resource, essential for all life on earth. By treating blessed water with reverence, we're reminded of the sacredness of all water and our responsibility to be good stewards of this gift. The Holy Father, who wrote the groundbreaking encyclical Laudato Si on care for our common home, sees a connection between our spiritual practices and our ecological awareness. In practical terms, the Pope suggests that having holy water in our homes can help us develop a more mindful relationship with all water. When we see water as something that can be blessed and become a channel of grace, we're less likely to take it for granted or waste it. This awareness can extend to other natural resources as well, fostering an attitude of gratitude and responsibility. Another aspect of holy water that Pope Francis highlights is its democratic nature. Unlike some religious items that might be expensive or difficult to obtain, holy water is accessible to everyone, regardless of economic status. A humble container of blessed water in a simple home carries the same spiritual significance as an ornate font in a wealthy household. This accessibility reflects the universality of God's grace, available to all who seek it with sincere hearts. The Holy Father also addresses some common misconceptions about holy water. He clarifies that it's not meant to be a substitute for the sacraments or regular prayer. Rather, it's a complement to these essential aspects of Catholic life. Holy water reminds us of our baptism, but doesn't replace the ongoing need for confession when we sin gravely. It invites God's protection, but doesn't eliminate our need to make wise choices and avoid dangerous situations. Pope Francis also gently corrects those who might use holy water superstitiously, as if it were a good luck charm or magical potion. The power of holy water, he reminds us, comes from God's blessing and our faith, not from any inherent quality in the water itself. When we use it with understanding and devotion, it becomes a meaningful channel of grace. When we use it superstitiously, we miss its deeper significance. For families with children, the Holy Father offers special encouragement to teach the meaning of holy water from an early age. Children naturally connect with sensory experiences and rituals. The cool touch of water, the gesture of making the sign of the cross, the routine of blessing oneself at certain times. These experiences create powerful memories and associations that can last a lifetime. Pope Francis suggests explaining holy water to children in simple terms. This special water reminds us that God is with us and loves us. It helps us remember our baptism when we became part of God's family. As children grow older, parents can gradually introduce the deeper theological meanings behind this practice. The Holy Father also addresses those who may have drifted away from such practices, perhaps seeing them as outdated or unnecessary. He invites them to reconsider these traditions, not as relics of the past, but as timeless expressions of faith that can bring meaning and grace to contemporary life. Sometimes, he says, what appears old-fashioned is actually timeless, connecting us to the communion of saints across the centuries. For those who didn't grow up with these traditions, Pope Francis offers encouragement to begin now. It's never too late to incorporate meaningful spiritual practices into your life and home. The Holy Father often quotes the saying, "The Church is a mother who holds treasures, both old and new." Holy water is one of those treasures, ancient in origin but ever new in its application to our lives. Pope Francis also connects the use of holy water to the domestic church, the concept that each Christian family forms a small church within their home. Just as our parish churches have holy water fonts at their entrances, so too can our domestic churches have this blessed reminder of God's presence. This parallel helps us see the connection between our parish community and our family life, both spaces where faith is lived and celebrated. The Holy Father emphasizes that these practices are not meant to be burdensome additions to already busy lives. Rather, they should be simple, meaningful gestures integrated naturally into daily routines. A quick blessing with holy water takes only moments, but can center us spiritually throughout the day. It's not about adding more religious obligations, but about finding ways to make our existing activities more mindful and grace-filled. Pope Francis also addresses the question of how often holy water should be refreshed. While there's no strict rule, he suggests that the water in home fonts be changed regularly, perhaps weekly, or whenever it begins to evaporate. New holy water can be obtained from the parish church. Some families make it a Sunday tradition to bring a small container to Mass and refresh their home supply afterward. For those who live far from a parish or who are homebound, the Holy Father notes that a priest can bless a larger quantity of water during a home visit, which can then be used over time. In extraordinary circumstances, some dioceses may also permit deacons or designated extraordinary ministers to bring blessed water to those unable to attend church. Pope Francis also addresses seasonal uses of holy water. During Easter, many parishes bless water in a special way during the Easter Vigil. This Easter water holds special significance as it recalls Christ's resurrection and our own rebirth through baptism. The Holy Father encourages families to obtain some of this specially blessed Easter water, if possible, and use it throughout the Easter season. Similarly, some cultures have traditions of blessing homes with holy water at the beginning of a new year or during Epiphany. Pope Francis affirms these cultural expressions of faith, seeing in them a beautiful way of sanctifying time and space. He encourages families to maintain these traditions where they exist and to consider adopting them where they don't. The Holy Father also speaks about holy water in relation to the communion of saints. When we use blessed water in our homes, we're participating in a practice that connects us to countless Christians throughout history and around the world. This creates a sense of solidarity with the universal church, a reminder that we're part of something much larger than ourselves. Pope Francis has a special message for those experiencing doubt or spiritual dryness. Sometimes, he acknowledges, we may use holy water and feel nothing, no special connection or consolation. In these moments, he encourages perseverance. The efficacy of sacramentals like holy water doesn't depend on our feelings, but on God's faithfulness. By continuing these practices even during spiritual deserts, we express our trust that God is working beyond what we can perceive. For those in interfaith marriages or households, the Holy Father offers wisdom about respecting different beliefs while maintaining Catholic traditions. Holy water, he suggests, can be explained to non-Catholic family members as an expression of Catholic identity and spirituality, not as a judgment on other faith traditions. With sensitivity and clear communication, these practices can coexist. With respect for diverse beliefs within a family, Pope Francis also addresses the question of whether holy water can be used to bless objects as well as people. While the formal blessing of religious items should generally be done by a priest or deacon, the Holy Father affirms the ancient practice of Catholics using holy water to informally bless their homes, vehicles, and personal items. This isn't meant to replace official blessings, but can be a meaningful way of dedicating everyday objects to God's service. The Holy Father particularly encourages the blessing of items related to work, tools, computers, workspaces, as a way of sanctifying our labor and remembering that all honest work can glorify God. A simple sign of the cross with holy water over these items, accompanied by a brief prayer, can transform our perspective on daily tasks. Pope Francis also speaks about holy water in relation to healing. While being clear that it's not a substitute for medical care, He notes that the Church's blessing of water includes prayers for physical and spiritual well-being. Using holy water with faith during times of illness can be a meaningful way of entrusting our health concerns to God and asking for His healing presence. The Holy Father shares stories of how this practice has brought comfort to the sick and dying. He tells of hospital chaplains who bring holy water to patients, of family members who gently make the sign of the cross with blessed water on the foreheads of loved ones who are suffering. These gestures, he says, can bring peace and a sense of God's presence even in difficult circumstances. Pope Francis also addresses the question of whether holy water maintains its blessing if mixed with regular water. Following traditional Catholic understanding, he explains that adding a small amount of regular water to holy water doesn't remove the blessing. The entire amount becomes blessed. This practical knowledge can be helpful for families who need to extend their supply of holy water between visits to the parish. The Holy Father emphasizes that while these external practices are important, they must always be connected to interior disposition. Using holy water should be accompanied by genuine faith, repentance for sin, and desire for God's grace. Without these interior attitudes, external rituals can become empty gestures. With them, simple practices like using holy water become powerful channels of spiritual growth. Pope Francis also speaks about holy water in relation to spiritual warfare. Without being sensationalistic, he acknowledges the reality of evil influences in the world and the Church's tradition of using blessed water as a protection against them. The blessing of water includes explicit prayers, asking God to drive away evil and bring His protection. When used with faith, holy water can be a powerful tool in creating spiritually safe environments. The Holy Father is careful to present this aspect in a balanced way, avoiding both naive dismissal of spiritual realities and unhealthy preoccupation with demonic influences. Holy water, he teaches, is one way we claim our baptismal identity as children of light and reject anything contrary to Christ's kingdom. As we near the conclusion of our reflection, Pope Francis invites us to see the use of holy water as part of a broader sacramental world-view, a perspective that recognizes God's presence mediated through physical reality. In a world increasingly dominated by virtual experiences and digital interactions, tangible spiritual practices like using holy water help ground us in our embodied nature. They remind us that Christianity is an incarnational faith, one that honors the physical world as capable of conveying spiritual realities. The Holy Father encourages us to rediscover not just holy water, but all the sacramentals of the Church. Blessed candles, crucifixes, religious images, and more. Together, these create what he calls a Catholic ecosystem in our homes, an environment that nurtures faith and makes God's presence visible and tangible. As we prepare to conclude, let me share a final thought from Pope Francis on this beautiful tradition. He reminds us that using holy water is ultimately about relationship with God, with the Church, and with each other. It's a physical expression of our spiritual connection to the divine and to the community of faith. Each time we bless ourselves or our loved ones with holy water, we're participating in a gesture of love and faith that transcends time and space. The Holy Father often speaks about the culture of encounter, the importance of meaningful human connections in a world that can be isolating and impersonal. He sees family rituals, like using holy water, as opportunities for such encounters, moments when parents connect with children, spouses with each other, and the entire family with God. These small gestures create spaces for presence, attention, and love. Pope Francis shares a touching story from his pastoral visits. He tells of meeting an elderly woman who had maintained the tradition of blessing her adult children with holy water whenever they visited her home. Though her children had varying degrees of connection to the Church, some practicing, some distant. They all respected this maternal blessing and would bow their heads to receive it. This simple gesture maintained a spiritual connection, even when words about faith might have created tension. The Holy Father sees in this story a model for how traditions like holy water can bridge generational gaps and keep spiritual doors open, even when family members are at different places in their faith journeys. The physical gesture often communicates what words cannot and creates moments of grace that may bear fruit years later. Pope Francis also reflects on how the use of holy water connects us to the global church. Catholics in vastly different cultures, from ornate European cathedrals to simple mud brick churches in Africa, from ancient Middle Eastern communities to new parishes in Asia, all share this same practice. When we use holy water in our homes, we're participating in a universal Catholic tradition that transcends cultural, linguistic, and economic differences. This universality is particularly meaningful in today's mobile world, where many people live far from their countries of origin. The Holy Father notes that for immigrants and refugees, maintaining traditions like using holy water can provide a sense of continuity and belonging. These familiar practices help people maintain their cultural and religious identity, even as they adapt to new environments. Pope Francis also addresses how the tradition of holy water can be shared with younger generations in engaging ways. He suggests that parents and grandparents share stories of how holy water has been meaningful in their own lives. Personal testimonies about moments when this sacramental brought comfort, protection, or a sense of God's presence can make the practice come alive for children and teenagers. The Holy Father acknowledges that in today's secular environment, some young people may question these traditions or find them strange. He encourages parents not to force practices, but to explain their meaning and model them consistently. Over time, what might initially seem foreign often becomes a cherished part of family identity. Pope Francis also reflects on the connection between holy water and our baptismal commitment to service. The same water that reminds us of our baptism should also remind us of our call to serve others, especially those most in need. He suggests that families might consider keeping their holy water font near the door, not only as a reminder of God's blessing as they come and go, but also as a prompt to carry that blessing to others through acts of charity and justice. The Holy Father has spoken about how his own use of holy water reminds him of his responsibility to be Christ's hands and feet in the world. This connection between sacramental practice and social action is central to his understanding of authentic faith, one that is both deeply spiritual and actively engaged with human needs. As we continue our reflection, Pope Francis invites us to consider how the use of holy water might be particularly meaningful during life transitions and significant moments. When a family moves to a new home, blessing each room with holy water can be a way of consecrating this new space to God and asking for His protection over this new chapter of life. Similarly, when welcoming a new baby, blessing the infant's room and crib with holy water creates a spiritually nurturing environment from the beginning. When children leave home for college or work, a parental blessing with holy water can be a powerful sending forth. During times of reconciliation after family conflicts, the use of holy water can symbolize cleansing and new beginnings. The Holy Father emphasizes that these moments need not be elaborate ceremonies. Simple, heartfelt gestures often carry the most meaning. What matters is the intention behind them and the faith with which they're performed. Pope Francis also addresses how the tradition of holy water can be adapted for those with physical limitations. For elderly individuals who may have difficulty reaching a traditional wall-mounted font, a small container of holy water kept on a bedside table can make this practice accessible. For those with mobility challenges, family members can bring the holy water to them, perhaps as part of a regular prayer routine. The Holy Father notes that these adaptations aren't compromises, but expressions of the Church's desire to make spiritual practices available to all the faithful, regardless of physical condition. In fact, he suggests that bringing holy water to those who are homebound or in nursing facilities can be a meaningful ministry, a way of connecting them to the parish community and the sacramental life of the Church. Pope Francis also reflects on the sensory aspect of holy water. The cool touch of water on the forehead engages our sense of touch, creating a physical memory of blessing. This sensory dimension is particularly important in our digital age, where so many experiences are mediated through screens. The tactile nature of holy water grounds our faith in physical reality and engages our whole person, body, mind, and spirit. The Holy Father connects this to the incarnational nature of Christianity, our belief that God became flesh in Jesus Christ. Our faith is not merely intellectual or emotional, but embodied. Sacramentals like holy water honor this embodied dimension of human spirituality and help us experience God's grace through our senses. Pope Francis also addresses common questions about holy water. One frequent question is whether holy water, from different sources, different churches or shrines, has different spiritual qualities. The Holy Father clarifies that all properly blessed holy water carries the same blessing of the Church. While water from famous shrines like Lourdes may have special significance because of its connection to those holy places, the essential blessing is the same. Another common question concerns what to do with holy water that is no longer needed or has evaporated. The Holy Father explains that because holy water is blessed, it should be treated with respect. The traditional practice is to pour it into the ground rather than down a drain, returning it to the earth in a respectful way. This small gesture honors the sacred character of blessed objects. Pope Francis also reflects on the ecological dimension of holy water. In a world facing water scarcity and pollution, the reverence we show for blessed water can extend to all water. The Holy Father suggests that our care for holy water might inspire greater awareness of water conservation and protection of water sources. This connection between sacramental practice and environmental stewardship reflects his integrated vision of faith and ecology as expressed in Laudato Si. As we continue our reflection, the Holy Father invites us to consider how the tradition of holy water might be shared respectfully with those who are curious about Catholic practices. When non-Catholic friends or family members visit our homes, the presence of a holy water font might prompt questions. These moments, Pope Francis suggests, are opportunities for gentle evangelization, not proselytizing, but simply sharing the meaning behind our traditions. The Holy Father emphasizes that such sharing should always be done with respect for others' beliefs and without pressure. The goal is not to convert, but to witness, to allow the beauty of Catholic traditions to speak for themselves. Often, he notes, it is these tangible expressions of faith that most intrigue those outside the Church and open doors for deeper spiritual conversations. Pope Francis also addresses the question of whether holy water can be used in conjunction with other devotional practices. He affirms that holy water complements other expressions of Catholic spirituality. It can be used before praying the rosary, when lighting votive candles, or when praying before religious images. These combinations of sacramentals create a rich tapestry of devotional life that engages different aspects of our spirituality. The Holy Father particularly encourages the combination of holy water with prayer for the dead. The practice of keeping holy water near photographs of deceased loved ones and blessing these images while praying for the person's soul connects us to the communion of saints and expresses our ongoing love for those who have gone before us. Pope Francis also reflects on how the use of holy water relates to the liturgical seasons. During Lent, when our focus is on repentance and spiritual renewal, the use of holy water can remind us of our need for purification. During the Easter season, it connects us to the joy of resurrection and new life. During Advent, as we prepare for Christ's coming, holy water can symbolize our desire to prepare our hearts to receive him. The Holy Father suggests that families might give special attention to their use of holy water during these liturgical seasons, perhaps incorporating it more intentionally into family prayer or creating seasonal rituals that include blessing with holy water. These practices help connect domestic religious observance with the Church's liturgical calendar. Pope Francis also addresses the question of whether holy water can be used in workplaces or other settings outside the home. While respecting that not all environments are appropriate for religious expressions, he encourages Catholics to consider keeping a small, discreet container of holy water in their workspace, if circumstances permit. A quick private blessing at the beginning of the workday can help consecrate one's labor and invite God's presence into professional activities. The Holy Father acknowledges that in some secular workplaces, this might need to be done very privately. The important thing, he emphasizes, is not external display, but personal intention, the desire to bring faith into all aspects of life, including work. As we near the conclusion of our reflection, Pope Francis invites us to see the use of holy water as part of our spiritual legacy, something we not only receive from previous generations, but also pass on to those who come after us.